What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of Player Ratings as Spurs beat Marseille in Marseille 2-1, sealing top spot in the Champions League group, and in a very dramatic night in France. Let's get into the player ratings. Let's start off with Hugo Lloris, 8s all round from us, and he had a brilliant first half. He was responsible for keeping the score only at 1-0. I know they scored later on, but we could have, conceded 2 early goals with Alexis Sanchez. He was equal to his save, and one later on with a good volley from WeAreTottenhamTV, where he really should have scored in that situation. So Lloris did really well. Apart from that, I don't think he could have done anything with Mbemba's header when we did go 1-0 down. And after that, I mean, he dealt with everything that came his way quite routinely.
Yeah, I think that save from WeAreTottenhamTV goes under the radar. It looks like a two-handed save. When you slow it down, he actually does palm it away with one hand. So it was actually a really impressive save. And he did really well to help us ride the storm in the early parts of the game. We did end up conceding a goal right at the end. But if that goal was a second goal for Marseille, we probably don't come back yesterday. So really good performance. Then second half, apparently his words at half-time as well were part of the reason which we had a much better second half performance. So really good day for Hugo. I thought we put in a good display.
Let's move on to Eric Dyer. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 6. Nearly a very disastrous first half from him, as he played 2 very dangerous balls, nearly playing us into trouble. One volley over his head, not even looking, where it could have played a Marseille player one-on-one. Another one, trying to find Longley, I think it was, and it was just a miscued pass that really could have hurt us. But having said that, I think that he did grow into the game in the second half, and I think he defended really well in that second half and dealt with everything that came his way.
Yeah, I was really annoyed with some of his decision making in the first half, and that's mainly why he's getting a few down marks. But I didn't think he's totally suited to that wide centre back role. Still, I felt like unlike against Bournemouth, where he was getting forward and supporting the attack, I don't think he did that in this game. Although maybe it wasn't needed. But second half, especially, I think first half, I think there was clear instruction, maybe not to go forward. But second half, I don't think he helped the team too much going forward. Defensively, he was much better in the second half, though. So credit to him there. But if any of those costly back passes cost us, then we would all be going mad at him right now.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to Ben Davis. 6 all round from us. Again, in the first half, I think he was poor, constantly passing it back to Marseille in that first half, and it was really worrying. But half-time, as we regrouped and got back together, him, along with the rest of the team, really improved in that second half, and that's why Marseille could barely touch us in that second half.
Yeah, first half it was quite frustrating. Him, along the rest of the team, were really sloppy when they had the ball and weren't able to hold on to it, and his passing was really inaccurate. But second half was much better from him, and he also won the tackle, which led to our second goal as well and set us on the attack with a good reading of the play. So good stuff there from Davis.
Yeah, in terms of Clement Longley, Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. A few worrying signs in the first half, where he got beaten to a header from Alexis Sanchez, where Alexis did give him a bit of problems breezing past him once or twice. But I think he stood up to the challenge really well. Obviously, rose and got that header that got us level in the game. We saw him foray forward a few times to help the attack, and I think that his general play from that middle of a back three, I was really impressed with him, and I thought that it was one of his best displays for Spurs.
Yeah, it was a calm presence for most of the game, apart from early on, as you say. Sanchez got a shot off as well, a snap shot when he beats Longley to the ball, and Lloris has to save that one as well. But as the game wore on in the second half, he was definitely a lot better, a lot more aggressive. He was actually supporting the attack on a few occasions, and a really good header as well to get us equaliser. So credit to Longley for improving his performance.
Ryan Sessegnon gives a 3. I gave him a 4, and to be honest, it was a bit of a disaster from him. He got taken off at half-time. He was so shaky on that right-hand side. He was so shaky that they had to move him over to the left-hand side to protect him a little bit, but didn't really do much help, to be honest. And he was the one that gave away that stupid corner. He was like seeing the ball out for a goal kick, and it went for a corner. They ultimately scored from it, but I can't really remember anything positive he did do in the game. Shaky defensively, and nothing going forward whatsoever. So really poor display.
Yeah, he definitely did not look comfortable on that right right-hand side throughout the first half. He moved later to the left the final few minutes of the first half, but in the early exchanges, he was getting beaten time and again by Tavares. There was a moment where a cross came deep into the box. He tries to clear it away with his right foot, and he completely swipes and misses it, and it falls to Verratti, who had a shot, and we nearly conceded there. As you say, he saw out the goal, the corner, which led to the goal, and he could have easily put it out of play for a throw or just kept it on. And he was just all over the place a bit on the pitch, and rightfully taken off, and it gave us so much better balance once he was off the pitch as well. So really disappointing. The only one good moment, I remember he cut inside on his right peg and found a pass to Lucas who set up a chance, but Lucas was offside anyway. So that was the only kind of positive thing he did, and it was still not great. So really poor from Session. Terrible day.
Let's move on to Ivan Perisic. 8 all round from us, and this was Perisic's one of his best displays in the Spurs shirt. Definitely his best defensive display, that's for sure. I thought he stood up to the challenge so well. He was putting in those challenges time and time again. He was getting really good balls in the box. His set pieces were dangerous as ever. Obviously, we got that equaliser from his set piece when Longley scored the goal. And right at the end, he made a game-winning block as well to stop Marseille scoring from point-blank range. So unbelievable performance from Perisic. And like I said, I think it was his best defensive display in a Spurs shirt.
And he celebrated that block like he scored a goal. It was you still saw how he understood the importance of that, because it was very late in the game, and it was a crucial time in the game as well. And if they would have scored that moment, it wouldn't have been long to hang on. So much better from Perisic in this one. Well, I thought whether he played on the right or the left, he switched a couple of times during the game. I thought he was really effective, and he has to get a lot of credit. I thought aerially as well, winning lots of headers to make sure Spurs kept possession. And yeah, when he did manage to get forward, his delivery was dangerous as ever. So really good display this time round by Ivan.
Yeah, let's move over to Sonny. 5s all round from us. It was difficult for him. Obviously, he got taken off after half an hour with that face injury. And in those half an hours, we were pretty much penned into our own box. And every time we did get the out ball, he was crowded out, Sonny. So really not much in it for him. Yeah,
I felt sorry for him, because he was looking for options, and he had no options with him whenever he got the ball to go forward. He was trying to do it himself, but to no avail. And then he did get taken off with a bad-looking injury. Hopefully he's okay in the short term, but seems like he might be on for a spell on the sidelines. We'll have to wait and see. But for his time on the pitch, he wasn't particularly great.
Yeah. Let's move on to Rodrigo Bentancur. 8s all round from us. My man of the match from yesterday. Once again, the driving force from midfield, picking up the ball, driving, beating players, dribbling on show, passing on show. I mean, this guy is really going from strength to strength. Another unbelievable performance, pushing the team right until he got taken off, which looked like he was holding his hamstring as he was going off. So hopefully there's nothing in that, and it was just precaution. But another unbelievable display where he's just so energetic, so athletic, and just keeps going non-stop running, and he's becoming a proper asset for us.
Yeah, and I felt even in the first half when we were at our worst, he was the only one trying to actually get the ball on the ground and get some passes together, and I felt like no one else was maybe on his wavelength. Second half, he stood up as he has been recently, and he was head and shoulders above anyone else on the pitch. His tackles to get us on the front foot are fantastic. The amount of times he's dribbling into the box and creating chances. When Højbjerg hit the bar, that came from him. When he put a ball across the face of goal, which led to Harry Kane nearly putting it in the empty net if it wasn't for a good interception from the keeper. He was like the hub of a lot of good things that Tottenham did. He's really improving his dribbling ability, his forward thinkingness, and obviously defensive ability has never been in question. So another complete performance from Rodrigo.
Yeah. Let's move on to his partner in Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. To be fair, he was struggling a bit in the first half, like the majority of our team, to be honest, where Marseille were just all over us. But second half, he as well, alongside Bentancur, were a real driving force in for our team. And I don't think he was as good as Bentancur, even though I've given them the same rating. But what I've given him the rating for is like, to have that much about you is to go in the last 10 minutes to hit the bar, and then to go and like just keep running, to still have that energy right at those dying seconds of a really tiresome game, and to score that goal with a lovely finish and win the tie for us and send us through as group winners is unbelievable. So big up to Pierre.
Yeah, he was on his feet at the end, and it was incredible for him to drag himself through that run, and the finish as well. Top class finish, outside the box, in off the post. You got to give him so much credit for that. He would have been kicking himself if he hit the bar and then Kolasinac went and scored of the opposite end. So he did well to make up for that with a goal, and I thought he throughout the game, especially in the second half, he was still pretty good, but maybe wasn't as good as his partner.
Let's move on to Yves Bissouma. Sevens all round came on after the half an hour mark for the injured Sonny as we moved back to a 3-5-2. And I thought it was a step in the right direction for Bissouma. Defensively, I thought he was really good, putting out fires all day long. And we saw a bit of the old Bissouma that we've seen so often at Brighton as well, with his press resistance and getting past players in those small gaps and using his feet really well. And even we saw some forward passes in there as well. So good performance from Bissouma.
Yeah, and much improved from his last game. I was really happy with the way he was able to win the ball, not just win possession, but actually look forward, get a really good, quick, sharp pass into space into a play and allow us a platform to go forward with. I think in his previous performances, occasionally he has been a bit safe, but he wasn't that safe in this game. He was actually forward passing really well. And also there were a few moments where it looked like he was going to lose it, but he was able to dribble out of trouble and set Tottenham on the attack as well. So I was pretty happy with Bissouma's cameo after coming on after half an hour, and it would have been easy for him to maybe have another poor performance like he has maybe against Bournemouth, but it was good, this one. I was happy with him. Yeah,
absolutely. Next up, Emerson Royale. Sim gives him an 8, I gave him a 7, and he came on at half time and we're all thinking, oh god, we don't want to see Emerson again, but he stood up to the challenge, and credit where's credit's due, because I thought he put in a real positive impact in the game. He gave us that bit of steel on that right hand side that we were lacking with Sessegnon. He gave us a bit more balance to the team as well, where we could actually go down both sides. He used the ball really well down that right hand side, and he showed his athleticism as well, getting up and down the pitch. So big up to Emerson.
Yeah, and he was a bit of a threat going forward this time round as well. He put a really good cross into the box, which led to the keeper fumbling it and Kane nearly putting in the rebound. He was able to get a pass down the line for Bentancur as well, which allowed him to also nearly set up a chance. And he gave us such better balance on the pitch. It was so much better with Emerson on the right, with Perisic on the left, than it was with Sessegnon there. And never been so happy to see Emerson on the pitch before. And you got to give him credit where credit's due. He had a really good second half cameo. Defensively as well, we looked a lot more solid with him on the pitch as well. The only bad thing is, that Kolasinac chance, he's completely free at the back post, and got to wonder where Emerson was there. But other than that, you got to give him credit.
Let's move on to Lucas Moura. Sim gives him a 4, I gave him a 5. I mean, first half he was dreadful. Kept losing the ball time and time again, and he even lost the ball on the edge of our box quite a few times in dangerous areas. But second half, he did grow into it. I think he was a bit of second half was just a classic Lucas Moura performance, really, where he sees a lot of the ball, goes on a lot of mazy runs, but without too much end product. But he was the one that played Højbjerg in for him to hit the crossbar. So could be talking about an assist on another day. Dreadful first half, a bit better in the second half.
Yeah, he was a bit more of a threat, but still could have done more in the second half. But to be fair, he also played a nice ball to Harry Kane, who was a thrown goal, but Mbemba gets a last-minute challenge in,
what a challenge that was,
which was an incredible challenge. But too many times, again, Lucas is just so frustrating on the ball. He doesn't look up, he doesn't pass quick enough, especially in that first half. If we're basically on the first half, it's nearly a 0 out of 10. I'm not even joking. He was that bad in the first half, and nearly cost us dearly. But thankfully he did improve, but he was a lot further up the pitch, so he wasn't in much dangerous areas, and he did start to create a bit in the second half, so much better.
Yeah. Let's move on to Harry Kane. Sim gives him a 7, I gave him an 8. And I felt for Harry Kane a lot in the first half, because he was sometimes getting the ball in, good areas where you're expecting players around him to make the runs to show for him, to make it count. But nobody did, and he was like on there on his own, trying to just hold up the ball, trying to take it past players, and literally it was just him against 5 Marseille defenders, just trying to all do it on his own. And he gets our first shot right at the end of that first half, and it was an effort that just was going over anyway, but the keeper forced into making a corner. But then the second half, you saw people really trying to help out Harry Kane, and you see chances come his way. There was that one that you were just talking about a second ago when Mbemba makes a really good challenge. A few chances where he lost his footing and the ball just get away from him. So he was always in the good moments. He was always trying to take it past players. He was always holding up the ball and providing positively for the team. And then obviously right in the last minute to win the game, he plays that ball through to Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and then we go and win 2-1. So I thought it was a really good display from Harry Kane, just lacking the goals really.
Yeah, I thought he performed the duty of a lone striker really well in that second half, and he did a lot of really good work which would go unnoticed, like winning the free kick when he had 3 men around him just before we scored the first goal. He had no right to win that free kick, but he held off. He protected the ball, dribbled past a couple of players, and then drew the foul. That's exactly what you need to do when you're in those kind of situations, when you're up front by yourself, and and you need to pull something out of the bag. And I thought second half he was much more of a threat. He was the one nearly getting on the end of things a few times. So he's unlucky not to get a goal, and he did end up with a good assist with a good pass into Højbjerg, who obviously got a really nice finish. So you got to give a lot of credit to Harry Kane, but he'll be disappointed he didn't get on the score sheet on the day.
Yeah, definitely, because he definitely had the chances too. But let's move on to last but not least, Christian Stellini, manager for the day, 8 all round from us. And you got to give this man so much credit for stepping in such a big game. Antonio Conte on the sidelines, in the stands, can't speak to him before the games, can't speak to him at half time. He was only allowed to be back with the squad 15 minutes after the final whistle. And I thought he managed the game really well. Obviously, it wasn't going well in the first half. He saw that and brought on Emerson for Sessegnon, which was a massive plus. I think the game management in the second half was a treat as well. So you just got to give him so much credit just for stepping in such an intense atmosphere in such a big game and getting the job done.
And he showed he was stepping right into Conte's shoes when he got booked in the first half as well. So definitely showed he was up to the task there. But yeah, I think you got to say his substitutions were great. I think tactically it would have been a very difficult game to manage. But I think in the second half he did it really well. Obviously bringing on Basuma for Son was a big call, but I think in the end you can say he got that one right. Taking off Sessegnon for Emerson, not many people maybe would have done that. Maybe some people would have done Doherty or someone else. Especially, or maybe even gone to a 3-4-3 in the second half, but he made a big call by bringing Emerson on, and Emerson put in a really big second half, and the team looked a lot more balanced. And I think the way we pushed Marseille tactically in that second half as well, got further forward. Apparently his words at halftime were part of the reason we were able to turn it around. So Conte must be very proud of his assistant for stepping in so admirably and getting the job done.
Yeah, and he was saying in his press conference before the game that it's going to be difficult. You can't really replace a man like Antonio Conte. But he did say that they've been together so long and he's been in this situation quite a few times before. So, yeah, he's used to doing it, once every so often. So big up to Stellini. We got the job done. We're through into the next round. And that is your player ratings. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
come on, you Spurs.